Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Taylor, and in today's video, we're gonna revisit the cheapest SL65 AMG in the USA. I'm gonna tell you why I fell in love with the car and then how I actually sold it almost immediately. So if you're new to the channel, guys, this is my 2005 Mercedes-Benz SL65 AMG. This is the twin-turbo V12 SL car, has a retractable hardtop, and it is rated at 604 horsepower, 738 pound-feet of torque. So this thing is an absolute monster. And I have to say, with the AMG wheels, the big brakes, the AMG bumpers, it just gives this car an absolutely sinister look. This is definitely a Mercedes muscle car in every sense of the word. So if you haven't seen the video on when I actually found this car and later purchased it, I'll put a little card up here so you can click on it. I picked this up at the auto auction in February of 2020, and it was actually a repossession vehicle. It was sitting out in a lot amongst like 1,000 plus other SUVs and things like that, just normal cars, and then this was sitting there getting covered in snow, and I took a risk on it, and I took it out, drove it, and it really checked out. I'll go ahead and kind of go through a little, summary of everything that I found with the car that day, and then I'll tell you really the rest of the story I found out about the car. If you haven't yet watched that video, I'll say it again, but I got this car, or the winning bid was $11,250, and this is a running, driving, clean titled car, and it's absolutely beautiful. So to this day, I'll still say it's the cheapest SL65 AMG in the USA. Back to the story. When I found this car, I did an auto check report on it, which is kind of like a cheaper version of a Carfax, just to get an idea of if there are any catastrophic accidents or title brands, and it was all clear. Well, after I purchased the car, I then went ahead and got a Carfax report, which has much more detailed information and a lot of service information typically. And this car actually sold new at Mercedes-Benz of Manhattan, quite a prestigious dealership to sell at new. And that car spent the first couple of years in its life in Northern Virginia, I believe. And this car had 29 service records from its entire lifetime, all on Carfax, documenting every tire rotation, tire change, brake job. I mean, you name it, it was all in there. So this was a car that was really taken care of. And granted, it has 147,000 miles on it, so it was definitely driven. But I think the reason it's held up so well, obviously, is because it was well maintained. I mean, just to give you a little backstory here, I actually sold this car, and I'm still a little sick about it because I will never likely have another car of this caliber for that price point again. But being a business owner, and I'm in the business of selling cars, so we have a small car dealership here, and we sell stuff like this. I mean, you'll see over here right now there's an AC Cobra over there, a Z06 Corvette. I mean, I love cars. I'm very passionate about cars, and it's easy for me to get attached to something pretty quickly, and I got attached to this car very fast. But most of you know, you can't keep everything. So what I decided to do was put the car on eBay. I'm gonna pull into the office here so it doesn't echo as much, but I put the car on eBay, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna put what I thought at the time was an optimistic price on the car, and if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and I'll keep it for myself. And that was maybe a week after I'd acquired the car, did a detail on it, just checked over a few things and made sure it was good to put for sale. Well, after 4 hours, I had an offer on the car. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was quite a bit lower, several thousand lower than I was asking. So I just countered back, and we went back and forth a couple of times, and finally the buyer, I sent him a message and said, hey, I just bought this car, I absolutely love it. I kind of gave him a little story, and I said, look, I just can't sell this car in the first 4 hours for what you're offering me. So he actually emailed back and said, yeah, well, I'll take it for that if you can help me arrange shipping and whatnot. And I thought, okay, guess I'm selling my car here. So I had this car sold within 4 hours of putting it on eBay, and I'm not going to give you guys the sale price and all that and talk about the money, but I mean, that's how quick I sold it. So I was really feeling sick about it. Now this car, this is an 05. They made this body style with the SL65 V12 from 05 to 08. So 4 model years in total. They only made 1,305 or 1,309 of these cars, which is extremely low production. Now granted, they made a ton more SL platform cars in those years, from the 500, 55, and so on and so forth, but only 1,300 with this power plant in it. And additionally, I found out after the fact, this car is a Designo graphite car, and I didn't know it at the time. I knew it was a unique color. I'd never really seen it in person before, but this is an extremely low production color scheme on this car. The Designo graphite is, I don't even have the actual statistics on the numbers of cars built from 05 to 08 with the package. I'm assuming it's the number is under 100 cars based on all the other ones you see out there, but just a beautiful car. And again, one that was driven but also taken care of. I mean, the whole front end still has clear bra. It's getting a little worn at this point, so I recommended to the buyer he maybe pull this stuff off at some point and redo it at least so it looks fresh again, but just absolutely beautiful. And what's really almost eerie about this, and many people will say if they're talking about the CL65, the SL65, any Mercedes that has the active body control system, you know, they can drain your wallet pretty quick. This car has 147,000 miles and has not one mechanical issue. It is absolutely unbelievable. I've actually stored this car right in that corner over there for the past 3 months for the buyer because he actually paid for this back in February. And with this whole outbreak and all this stuff going on, it's kind of become difficult to organize exporting the car and whatnot, but it's finally actually getting picked up today. So we're gonna document this today on the video of the car getting picked up. But the suspension did not sag in any corner. It sat over there for 3 months and the ABC did not sag at all, which is absolutely unbelievable. Usually you leave a car like this sitting for a while, there's always a little micro leak somewhere in the system and it'll start kind of sagging here or there unless you're constantly starting the car to build that hydraulic pressure up again. So when I picked this car up, one thing that was happening was, although this passenger door was shut, there was an error on the dash saying passenger door open. And basically, if any of you have some experience with these cars, you'll know that if they sit for an extended period of time, they start to draw down on the batteries. And basically, when the voltage is low, the car doesn't, some of the electronics act a little wonky. And basically, that's what happened to this car. It was sitting out there in that lot in the cold snow in winter. So some of this electronic stuff was just acting a little odd because it was low on voltage. So there's a little striker switch down here. And basically this is what senses whether the door is open or closed in the car. And for whatever reason, the CPU wasn't receiving that signal and it was putting that light up on the dash. So I brought the car back, just dried it off, let it sit after being out in the weather, charged up both batteries, and everything worked in the car just fine. So it was like unbelievable circumstances, again, that to get a car that is notorious for nickel and diming people and needing a lot of expensive repairs, to find the cheapest one in the USA with one of the highest miles I've ever seen on a car like this, literally everything works. So that's just a little background on the car, and again, just some details and more things that I learned about it in my ownership. And I have to say, this is not the last SL65 or CL65 you'll see on the channel. I definitely need another twin turbo V12 in my life someday. But this one is heading to Manchester, England, to the new owner. These cars are very scarce over there, especially for the price point that he purchased this one in. So it's gonna go to a good home. It's gonna get fixed up even more so. And it is going to be on the other side of the pond, which is pretty cool. So he did give me permission to take it for one last ride. So let's go take this car out and give it a farewell spin, get it all on video, and then we'll film this thing going up onto the truck and leaving the USA. One thing that you don't find every day in a car is something that is extremely luxurious. You can put the top down in, and also has just absolutely barbaric power. This car is likely one of the fastest cars I have ever driven. I mean, twin turbo V12, 738 pound-feet of torque. That is, you know, like as much as my F450 pickup truck practically. So this thing really moves. Oh. I think you can see how fast those needles wrapped up right there. It just hits a point where those turbos just come in like a light switch and it just throws your head back. And to top it all off, the car actually gets a reasonable amount of traction despite it only having a 295 out back for tires. So just a really well put together car by Mercedes. I think this is probably my all-time favorite Mercedes. The styling, the performance, it hits every box for me. It really is impressive. A car that has 604 horsepower, twin turbo V12, and as long as your foot's not in it, it just drives smooth as can be, quiet. This really has the best of both worlds when it comes to luxury and performance. I mean, look at this panoramic roof. Just an awesome feel inside the car, all finished in suede. Just an incredibly built machine, no doubt. Get going too fast out here, but that is just an unbelievable experience. It's just pulling your face back, gluing you to the seat. It's an amazing feeling for sure. The amount, it's really the raw torque that this car has, just slamming you back here. We'll go one more time so you can see what I'm talking about. Gosh, that is unbelievable, guys. I'm feeling pretty bad. I'm feeling remorseful about selling this car right now. I haven't driven it since February, and God, I'm like reliving the excitement of getting it all over again. Gosh. Oh man, I probably sound like I'm being dramatic, laughing and stuff. You probably can't tell on camera just how quick it is, but man, it is just an unbelievable feeling of acceleration. Well, that's it, guys. It's a little windy out here. Sorry about the noise, but that concludes the SL65 experience so far. What a beautiful car. I really love that Designo graphite. Runs and drives awesome, looks awesome. Just a great value for a depreciated luxury car, bordering supercar performance. Just beautiful. All right, the transport truck is here. They've got this 5-car trailer, and so anyways, this is going to be taken from here in North Idaho down to California. I think Oakland is where it's actually going to be loaded into a container and thrown on a ship to go over the pond. So North Idaho all the way to Manchester, UK. Definitely going to miss this one. This is a cool car. So the driver just told me this is actually going to LA. So Oakland and LA are two real common locations for these things to get loaded up and exported, and he's gonna drive it right up on those ramps, and we'll get one last photo of it on the trailer. Just put the suspension up to clear the exhaust and the bumpers. Got about 1.5 feet. Stop. You're about, that's probably good. Well, that's that. Load it up.